going to discuss Government Code 54956.9A, conference with legal counsel pending litigation, and Government Code 54957, public employee appointment, numerous, and number 3, Government Code Section 54957, evaluation of employee superintendent president. Are there any public comments for closed session items?
Mary, can I inquire if this item is appropriate now or at the beginning of the public session?
It's not a closed session item.
Okay, so this request will be considered at the beginning of the open meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
And I neglected to do roll call. Mary?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Dr. Fellow, Mr. Osterling,
Here.
Mr. Hilsman,
Here.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Ms. Chen Lau,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Ms. Wah,
Here.
Ms. Rod.
Okay, no further business, then we will adjourn to closed session.
Okay. Get the board docs.
Good evening. The Wednesday, June 19th, 2019 Board of Trustees meeting for the Pasadena Area Community College District is back in session. And in our closed session, we did take action.
If we did take action.
Now, help me out here.
Okay, we approved.
Thank you. The board approved in closed session Government Code Section 54956.9A, conference with legal counsel pending litigation, and the board voted to accept a settlement in that matter. No further action from the closed session. Roll call, please.
Dr. Feller, Mr. Osterling,
Here.
Mr. Hilsman,
Here.
Ms. Brown, here. Ms. Chen Lao,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Ms. Wah,
Here.
Ms. Rod.
Here.
So I believe this is our student trustees' last meeting.
Yeah. Yes,
So
it is.
Z-Rad, can you lead us in the pledge today?
I haven't prepped. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any agenda items requested to be reordered? Hearing none, we'll go to introductions and recognitions.
Okay, well, I do want to thank our student trustee, our outgoing student trustee, for her wonderful service. And she's only with us for another 7 minutes because she's taking a summer class and needs to get back to it. So thank you so much for this. You've been wonderful for my short time here since you've been here. And just wish you luck in your class this summer. Thank you so much. Does anyone else on the board want to?
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to say after the commencement, I was so impressed that you were out there congratulating all of our students and handing them diplomas with a compliment and a cheerful face. So I was very impressed. I think that's the first time student trustees actually taken over that job, and you did it very well as all your other service to our board, which we appreciate.
Would you like to know how that happened?
No.
Authority is 20% given and 80% taken. She just got up and started handing out diplomas. Good work.
So, Trustee Rad, I also would like to give you my congratulations. I know you'll still be with us for a little while, but not on the board, but I think you've just shown just exemplary leadership, and I have so appreciated serving on the board with you as a trustee. And I know the students have to just be so grateful to you for all that you have done and been such a strong voice for them. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is it my turn?
Trustee Brown.
So of course, I will miss you. You were an excellent trustee, and I wish you the best in the next year, and hopefully you will get your dreams to the college where you want to be accepted. So good luck.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
It's been a great joy working with you, and I'm always impressed through all the years, our student leadership, but you definitely right up there with all the tremendous leaders we've had, both in student representation and as a trustee.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to miss you as a seatmate.
Okay, well, it is my honor to be able to present you with a plaque in recognition for your leadership and being our student trustee for this last year.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and here comes Alex, our trustee photographer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for you.
Yay.
Before I go, I just want to thank everyone up here on the sides and up here for accepting me and being amazing to me and being nothing but supportive and kind to me and coming to my events and making sure I was okay. And to Tito, thank you for being like my like amazing advisor through everything, and Miss Lenora Rogax for complimenting my shoes, and
Color blue.
and Dr. Terry Junie for me always not agreeing with you on biology, but thank you for always like putting a smile on my face. And Dr. Olivo, you already know like how much love I have for everyone here, and I hope to see you soon. And thank you guys so much for everything.
Great, thank
Hi,
you.
sweetie.
Good luck with your class.
And is our new trustee still here in the audience? There he is, Alex Sarkeesian. Raise your hand, all right. He will be joining us in July. Yes. We have to have the changing of the guard officially. So I do want to comment that I know that you are going to be approving some new faculty later on in the agenda, but one of our new faculty happens to be here. So I'm going to have him just kind of say, hi, this is Don McClure from our speech department. Yay. And where did we steal you from? Remind me. Yes. I like to point that out whenever possible. Thank you, Bill. Just saying. And now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Cynthia Olivo for a special recognition.
You are too bad.
I'm having trouble. I can't get my board docs to.
So tonight, on behalf of the Pasadena Area Community College District, the Superintendent, President, the Board of Trustees, and our entire community, we would like to recognize Ms. Patty Durange Martin for her 32 years of service. Patty has been the faculty lead for our Veterans Program and helped establish our Veterans Resource Center. Over the past 11 years, Patty has created the Boots to Books course along with a team of individuals. Our Veterans Program has been the top 10 Veterans Resource Center in the nation for the past 5 years from a national survey conducted from Military Times Magazine. Last year, a statewide report was released which cited PCC as the #1 VRC in the state. And Patty, your legacy lives on in our new expanded VRC that we opened this year, as well as the new Veterans Medical Clinic in Arcadia, California. Thank you so much for your service to our students, our veterans, and our college.
I really need to thank you because nothing is done in a vacuum. It didn't matter how much passion I have if I didn't have backing and support by the board and the administration here on the campus, not much would have happened. So I always say to people that it takes a village, and this has been my village for 32 years. It's been my work family, and I feel honored and privileged to have worked here. It's been a very happy time for me, but it's time. So thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart, and au revoir.
Au revoir.
So we have a certificate to present to you in recognition of your retirement. And I just have to say that long before I knew much about Pasadena City College, I knew Patty's name, because if you wanted to talk about veterans anywhere, and in my work with the Intellicom board, it's like, well, you've got to go to Patty at Pasadena City College. So, I mean, you're tops. And thank you so much. So. You're welcome.
Awesome sauce.
Don't go away. I think we have some more comments. We'll start with Trustee Chen Lau.
Patty, you are an inspiration. You change lives and you make a difference. I hope that you know that when you leave this college, of all the lives that you impacted, not just the students, but the staff, and also trustees like myself. And I hope that as you sit on the beach and have a tequila with your partner, Doc, that you think about how proud we are that you were here for 32 years. Thank you very much.
Trustee Wah.
So Patty, I know you know how much I admire you, and I'm grateful for all that you have done for our veterans. And being the mother of a veteran, the sister of a veteran, it's really meant a lot. And also having shepherded one of my former staff through the Veterans Center, I think it's been just really, your passion has really come through. But I think that as I've sat through the state meetings as well as the national meetings, not only are you known to the state, but I've had people call me from all over the country who have asked about our Books to Boots program and talked about you, and your name comes up at a lot of our meetings. So even though I know you're retiring and you're going to be crafting during your retirement, I am happy to say that, Patty, I think you've agreed to get onto the State Veterans Caucus. And so as soon as I told Trustee Kennedy that, they connected right away. So we're going to get Patty roped back in.
Great.
So thank you for everything.
That's good. Thank you.
Patty, thank you for honor well-deserved, and on behalf of myself and all of the trustees, it's already been said, but what you've done for the veterans here at PCC has been nothing short of amazing, and I particularly appreciate your determination to see through the VRC despite all odds and to get a clinic for our veterans, not only for our student veterans, but our area veterans nearby as well. And we know how challenging both of those things were, and you persisted in good humor throughout, and your efforts were appreciated and rewarded. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to public comments on non-agenda items.
Yes, we have a public comment from Adela Ortiz. Ms. Ortiz, if you can step to the podium. And the custom is 3 minutes. I will signal you, and you'll see a red light after 3 minutes have come up. Okay?
Okay. Where is the light again?
Oh, it's to your right.
Oh.
I'll give you a shout out if you need it.
Okay, good evening. My name is Adela Ortiz, and once again, I am asking the Board of Trustees to have the college fully recognize my catalog rights for the Speech Language Pathology Assistant Program. I would like to remind the board that I am a disabled student, have a 3.5 GPA, and just received my first grant ever, the Cal Grant C. I will lose my grant and place in the program because now the college is only partially recognizing my catalog rights. They are now requiring me to fill out an application and go into a lottery with many students for just 28 slots in the program. There is no guarantee that I will ever be picked for the program in this lottery. Catalog rights are a contract between the school and student. If a program changes requirements, a continuous student, which I am, has the option of graduating with the old requirements in place at the time of initial enrollment, or can graduate with the new requirements. At the time of my initial enrollment, there was no requirement for me to fill out an application and go into any lottery. I picked this program because it was the best option for me to be able to support myself with just an associate's degree. I love helping children, and with the SLIPA program, I could do that and still make a decent living. This whole situation has been very stressful for me. I have worked and studied very hard at school. I don't have much. I just turned 15. I don't have children or a significant other to count on. But the one thing that I thought I could count on was school. I have lost my trust in this school, but hopefully you, the Board of Trustees, will do the right thing
and helped me get that trust back. Please have the school fully recognize my catalog rights so that I can continue in this program without interruption and without losing my grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz.
Any other public comment?
There are none.
Okay. We're going to move on to agenda item number 6, which is certification of signatures. Are there some signatures that we need to certify, or has that already been done?
It's already been done, yeah.
Okay, so no further action is needed on item number 6, and we'll move on to item number 7. And this is setting day and time of our regular Board of Trustees meetings for the next fiscal year, 2019 through 2020. And there, Dr. Androgenis, if you would like to comment on this, there is a proposed calendar that's part of this agenda item, and if anybody has any questions, comments, or requested changes.
I think Trustee Waugh does.
Trustee Waugh, thank you.
Yes, I would like to request that the board consider moving the November 20th date to the prior week, which I think is November 14th. The reason is November 21st is the start of the California Community College Conference in Riverside, but the 20th, it just turns out it's always, it's a day set aside for a number of pre-conference activities, including the ACCT endorsement of our candidates, for which one of our trustees will be applying, and would also need to miss that meeting. And it's also a date when the CCCT comes together on a number of task forces. So I've asked the league to start posting that on a calendar so that all the colleges are aware and the other trustees who are involved are aware, but I would like to request that the board consider moving this to the week before. And that puts us kind of squarely a month before the October meeting, and before the December meeting, and a month after the October meeting.
Okay, Trustee Hilsman, hold on one second. Let's
Okay.
tackle these one at a time.
Mine may be related, just to
If
say.
you're still talking about the November meeting, go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to point out that the October 9th meeting is the evening of Yom Kippur, so I think we might have to reschedule that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't we take note of October 9th is the start of Yom Kippur. November 20th meeting, the request is made to move it 1 week earlier, which would be November 13th. Let's deal with that one. Is that okay with the trustees? November 13th instead of November 20th, as shown here on the proposed calendar.
I would like to make that motion.
I motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm going back and forth here trying to look at all this.
I know.
20th to November 13th.
13th, the November one that you suggested. Okay, I just want to make sure I know what I'm voting on.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm not sure what to do about the October 9th meeting. Let's search and see if we can find another day that
So
month.
we could move it to 2 weeks from then. That would be October 23rd, I believe. And the only conflict I know on that date is that I believe the foundation had planned one of their hometown, and it's the one that you actually
I'm gonna be-
arranged,
Yeah.
Trustee Hilsman.
Yeah.
So I would like to propose that we possibly consider maybe the Tuesday before Yom Kippur, so that would be the 8th, and then we would keep it the same week, and that keeps it within a range, if the trustees would be open to doing that. Because the following week wouldn't work, since it's the start of the ACCT conference, the national conference.
So I'm not up on my Judaism very much, but I have a feeling that sundown on Tuesday is the beginning of the holiday.
That is.
All right. Well, I'm not up on my Judaism either.
Well,
So-
in that regard,
What
by
about the
sundown on the
actual-
9th, you're okay.
What
Yeah,
about
but
October?
sundown is-
No, you have
What
to break
about
the
October
fast.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
bunch of
All
things.
right.
It's a major holiday.
Yeah,
What about
that's.
October 15th?
What about the 16th? Did we?
The 16th is the first day of the ACCT
Oh,
conference.
that's right.
So
Okay.
what
But it
about
could
the
be the
15th?
15th.
Leave it where it is.
Could be the 15th. I would be open to the 15th.
Tuesday, October 15th.
I'm good.
Okay.
So I move that we change the date to, from October 16th to October 15th.
It would be October 9th to October
Yeah.
15th.
The proposed date is October 9th, and we would,
Oh.
Wednesday, and we would move
You're
it to
right.
Tuesday, the 15th.
I stand corrected.
And that's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did you get those two changes?
did.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments about the proposed calendar? And if not, we'll set this calendar for the upcoming fiscal year. And as we go along, if other changes need to be considered, we would do that on the, as we go. Okay. We are now going to move on to agenda item number 8, which is approval of the minutes. And this is the minutes from our last meeting, which was meeting number 16th, May 15th, last month.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I just note that I abstain, I was absent.
Okay, yeah, abstention noted. Motion carries, and we are on to agenda item number 9, which is the board committees. So these would be our board subcommittees on any meetings. Trustee Martin, do you?
I can make a very brief report, and I can be brief because the tentative budget, which is what we discussed, is on agenda, so you're all going to hear the crux of it. But some things you may not hear that I want you to know. We did get a report on our trust investments that we had set aside for our future obligations, and I thought that was helpful, and I think the full board would like to know that we are trying to monitor that. We had a long discussion in the committee, which we will not have tonight, on what I call the how they make the sausage of deciding which classes are offered to meet the demand that students want for classes. It was a rather detailed explanation that gives me tremendous appreciation to the staff, Dr. Juni and many of the others that are all working on trying to make sure that we are maximizing that, because at the center of our revenue is getting that equation right. And I would like to, and will suggest later in the meeting on future agenda items, that we schedule that at a future board meeting so that the full board can appreciate what the committee now appreciates, the work that we go through to try to maximize the right offerings. Something that may not come up tonight in the shorter revised presentation that is now post-budget, because our meeting was last week, was that there was a recommendation in the original budget from the state legislature to only fund home districts for students who attend community colleges. And when I first saw that in the notes, realized that that would be devastating not only to the community college system at large, where we have a general kumbaya, but would also be just cataclysmic in what it would do for funding here at PCC, because obviously we are a desired campus that people travel to and get to it. And I've since learned from the administration and Erica that that is no longer considered. Am I ever so grateful about that? So we probably won't hear anything more about that tonight, and boy, are we glad. So at that point, the only other thing I want to highlight is it was obvious that there were, especially a week ago when we had the meeting before the final budget more or less got kind of locked in place, there was a lot of shifting sand going on underneath. And I thought that from the long meeting that we had, a lot of compliments go to obviously Dr. Bush, who just stepped in, and especially Chadwell Weingart for doing a lot of tremendous work on this and keeping up with a lot of moving parts. And I really appreciate the team there and what they what they did, and they seem very prepared for all the many contingencies that could come our way. I think the rest of it, and again, maybe some of the other members, I want to send out appreciation to those that attended the meeting, especially to the FA leadership that attended the meeting. So it was nice to have them in attendance with us, kind of hearing the same information and talking through some of that together, because we're all in this together, and I appreciate them taking the effort to come and want to publicly thank them for being there. Maybe my colleagues have more to add, but I think the nitty-gritty we're going to cover here later in the meeting. You don't need to hear it twice.
There's just one thing I would like to commend our president. I think it's a very good strategy to have the faculty and different components from the college community in those meetings, because when the board makes decision or when the president makes decision, it's like, if they are following the process, it makes more sense, and I think it's a good thing, so I'll have to congratulate you on that one.
Yeah, I would just add my appreciation for that. And the FA not only showed up and attended, they asked very good, pointed, detailed questions, Mark and Mary Aaron both. So they're very much on top of these issues, and we're pleased to have them join us in the meeting. John, thank you for that report. And we don't have any other. Linda, I'm sorry. You have your light on. Pardon me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a report, but I do want to say on the legislative advocacy, and I don't know I know we're going to go through a reorganization, but there's been a lot of, as fast as you see the budget moving, the legislative issues are moving very, very quickly. The league has now taken it on itself to start having monthly legislative webinars for anyone who's interested, and then they're having special webinars for the ethnic caucuses of the league, specifically honing in on on any bills of particular interest to them. So I know Dr. Androgenos has proposed that all of the committees have some set meetings from here on out. So I would just like to recommend that as soon as we can come up with those meetings, that we do that, and that but perhaps maybe legislative needs to meet maybe a little more frequently while these are going at sort of lightning speed.
Can I respond?
Yes, please.
Trustee Osterling and I had a conversation when we were looking at the calendar, and we talked about needing to increase the frequency of meetings, set those meetings out so that, poor Mary wasn't having to do a doodle poll, who can be here? Because there are a lot of issues that we need to discuss, and those committee meetings are just a really great opportunity for us to do that. And we also talked about, especially as we're moving forward with an FMP, and we're about to have a building under construction and looking at potentially going for a bond, that we need to start a board subcommittee on facilities, because there are going to be some decisions, some philosophical things that the board needs to talk about in terms of how to go forward, and a board subcommittee is the place to have those initial discussions before making recommendations. So we definitely had looked at, we need a ledge committee meeting in January, of course, before we start doing those visits. But absolutely, we need, especially because in September, the governor will have a whole bunch of bills sitting on his desk, and so we'll want to make sure we're out in front of those. So noted. Thank you.
Okay, and what the plan is we will establish the board subcommittee membership, and then we'll solicit the membership of each subcommittee for probably quarterly, if needed, meetings, and get them to agree on dates that work for the subcommittee. So we're not yet announcing those dates till we form those subcommittees. Okay, we're now going to move on to item D, which is consent items, students. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now going to move on to consent item E, which is instruction.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now going to move on to consent items F for business. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval?
Excuse me, I would like to talk about the community outreach activities.
Okay, would you like to take an item and take it off the consent calendar for discussion?
Yes.
And which item is that?
Item 2.
Okay, we'll remove item 2 from the consent calendar, and we'll vote on everything else, and then we'll discuss item 2. Motion to approve, do I hear a motion to approve consent items?
I move approval.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we've approved everything except item number 2, and Trustee Chen Lao, go ahead.
Yes. One of the questions that I asked President Androgenis to provide us with some details about the community outreach plan and activities. And it was great to see that there's a thorough, comprehensive plan. And when I looked at the budget for the community outreach for this, to seek $5,000, what came to my mind is to attain all the goals of what community outreach may need to do, whether the $5,000 is going to be enough. And so that's really my question in terms of having a little bit more of a discussion about, the type of community outreach benchmarks that we want to look at and the type of goals that we want to reach for community outreach and activity.
I think I'll have Dr. Cynthia Olivo respond to that.
Yes, thank you. So the Transfer and Outreach Department is led by our director, Tamika Alexander. And so she does an amazing job working with a very small budget to ensure that we're meeting community outreach needs as well as engaging with our high school partners. So you're right in that we do need to revisit the resources that we are dedicating to that effort. I will say that we have provided resources through SSSP and student equity in order to bolster the budget that supports these activities.
Great, thank you.
Do we have a motion on item number 2?
I motion.
Move to approve?
Yes.
Second? Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we are moving on to item number G. This is consent items, personnel, and Trustee Martin.
I just request a separate vote on G2.
Okay, we will remove G2 from the consent calendar, and we will vote on the remaining items, and then we'll circle back around to item number 2.
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so item G is approved except for item number 2, and Trustee Martin, you are up, sir.
I don't need to discuss it, I just need a separate vote.
Okay, we're going to have a separate vote on consent item G2, which was removed from the consent calendar, and we have a moved and seconded, correct? No.
Though, obviously, I think once it's approved, there's a lot of phenomenal PCC people here who are leaving us with a lot of years, and I'm sure there'll be some comments, but we'll vote on it first.
Okay. Have we had a motion on this yet? I don't.
I'll move.
And do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor of item 2?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Opposed?
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
And one abstention noted for Trustee Martin. Did you have any comments, or that's it?
No, that's it, other than, wow, I'm looking at names that have been a part of us for, obviously, Patty was here, but there's some other, Richard Beyer, Barbara Freud, Keith Oberlander, wow, Kristen Pilon, and Wayne Houlihan. So there's some, Regina Cooper. These have been some real PCC names for quite some time.
Yeah, it's amazing the long tenure of so many of our
Yeah,
employees.
you gotta really-
Yeah.
and a lot of new great ones coming in. So, but we really want to appreciate those that many of whom have 25, 28 years of service, 30 years of service, 29 years of service. Really, it's really special. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Martin. We're going to move on to item H, which is action items recommended for board approval. And we're going to start with H1, which is a public hearing and adoption of the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 tentative budget.
All right, and we'll have a presentation from Dr. Michael Bush.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the fiscal staff. Hedva Weingart and her staff have done a fantastic job. They did all the work. I just walked in at the end of it. But I'd like to review a little bit why we're doing a tentative budget. The state has their budget calendar, and the district has our budget calendar, and they don't really sync. So our fiscal year ends June 30th, and if we don't have a tentative budget in place, we cannot pay our employees and our bills. So we do a two-step process like many state agencies, and we have a tentative budget, and then we have our adopted budget, which will be sometime between August and September. It's due 45 days after the governor signs the budget off. So that's why the exercise we're going through tonight. Our tentative budget's based off the May revise, and as Trustee Martin has already shared, many of these assumptions we built our budget on have changed. So the May revise maintains the governor's commitment to reducing the state debt and liabilities. It has two separate reserves. It deposits $1.2 billion into the rainy day fund, which is for the whole state budget. And then it has this, for the first time, $389 million into the Prop 98 for public school stabilization account. Those were two different funds that the voters set up with the leadership of Governor Brown. And so both have deposits in them. Community colleges are fairly unchanged during the May revise. Prop 98 is slightly higher. There's lower property tax, which was backfilled with state apportionment. And it provides for a slightly lower COLA. This is the statutory COLA is now 3.26 instead of 3.46. And it uses the prior year's funding rates adjusted by COLA. And one of the things in the main revise that has changed slightly with the conference committee is it capped the year-to-year growth of a district student success allocation to 10%. And I'll go through the conference committee stuff in a minute. And it had that, as Mr. Martin shared, that language of the transfer being attributed to the home district rather than where the student actually attended. And it extended the hold harmless till 21-22, which really doesn't impact Pasadena City College because of our student success matrix, we're above the hold harmless level. It expands the college promise to the second year. It has Cal Grant expansion, and it has relief for pension costs. And what's so significant about this is it's outside Prop 98. It's the first governor who has not viewed Prop 98 as the ceiling and recognized it's the minimum guarantee. And it has a longitudinal data system. Okay, so after the governor's May revise, the legislature, the Assembly and the Senate work on different versions, and then they used to call it the Big Five, or the conference committee gets together and they come up with a budget compromise. And then the two houses pass those laws, and then they send it to the governor for signature. So they approved the Proposition 98 stabilization account. They clarified language in the student-centered funding formula. They capped the student success allocation for the state at 10%, so we can exceed our 10% mark. Clarified 19 transfers supposed to be on publicly available information, and no one knows what the details of that means yet. And they're going to implement a 3-year rolling average of the success matrix, and we got to look at that, and implemented an unduplicated account for the highest award earned. And everyone pretty much believed that was going to happen. They divided the pension relief between CalSTRS and CalPERS. So we're not saving or avoiding as much cost increase on CalSTRS, but we're going to avoid some CalPERS costs. It'll be pretty much a wash for us. It'll be $5 million increase to Veterans Resource Centers and a 3.9 one-time funding for student hunger and basic needs. And there is no additional full-time or part-time faculty funding. We were advocating strongly for those monies, and it includes an 80% funding for the Serafian building, which was hard fought. So we got our funding there. Okay. There is still potential apportionment shortfalls. They're estimating that there's enough revenue for 18-19, but there are people that still feel it's going to be deficited. We'll have to wait and see. It would be about $6 million increase to this district if it wasn't deficited. So we're looking forward to that. And let's see. That's just all about the deficit. This is a chart on the apportionment shortfalls on where they said it would be down, it'll be up, and we literally won't know until the end of the year after the governor signs the budget whether we're going to get a deficit or not. The student success completion grant adjusts for revised estimate. There's financial aid decreases because of one-time adjustments. The California promise is an increase of 79.4 for expansion of a second year, and we will have some deferred maintenance from one time. There's also a decrease in part-time faculty hours because of the removal, and then our construction. Well, the May revised didn't include it, but then it was put in. Pension contributions for STRS and PERS, that's always needs to be a caution in the future. Our OPEB benefits, one of the other risks to this district is our aging infrastructure and the ability to pay for it. State general revenue shortfalls is always a challenge. And then the changing of the funding formula. It continues to change midstream on us, so we continue to struggle with that. And then, of course, the demographic trends in decreasing traditional college-age students. Okay, so our general fund is $168,659,000, and so is our expenses. It is a balanced budget. Okay, we have apportionment increases of $2 million, but we have a reduction of approximately $2 million in our non-resident tuition and a $1 million reduction in part-time faculty revenue for a $1 million decrease in next year's budget. We have increases in our salary and benefit obligations. This is either already negotiated increases for STEP and column as well as statutory benefits. It does not include revenues for any negotiations. Decrease in we decrease our general operating expenses by 1.7, decrease the transfer to other funds by 2.9 for the projected reduction in expenditures of $1 million. Okay. This outlines our transfers of $2.2 million out of the general fund into the various funds that they go to. And this hard-to-read slide talks about some of those transfers. You also see associated students on there. That's to recognize the transfer of the bookstore money that has to be received in the general fund and then transferred over. Okay, is there any questions?
We'll start on the right with Trustee Waugh.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. So although we're above the limit for the hold harmless, and I'm glad it was extended one additional year, but I know there's been talk across the state, and we had there was strong sentiment for extending it to 7 years hold harmless. So even though we're held harmless and we're above the limit, I guess, so we're out of danger for at least this year, is there any potential of us, I guess, incurring any impacts in the future?
There's always the ability not to do as well as we're doing. It's not the intention that we'll ever go there. But traditionally, Pasadena City College has had strong student success. And our demographics, the funding model recognizes the higher cost of educating first-generation students, economically disadvantaged students. So that's in our favor that we're receiving those extra funds. But the extension of the guarantee, and I understand it for a system-wide, that it's a good thing for the state, but what the guarantee did for us this year, because they had the guarantee and they had a deficit, they took it all out of student success. So the districts that were succeeding with their students bore the deficit, while those that weren't were not deficited. So in past years, they would deficit across all the funding sources. But the way the law's written on the minimum guarantee, the hold harmless, they didn't participate in the deficit.
And can I add that part of the issue, too, was that the way that the hold harmless was calculated with setting it at whatever your total computational revenue was in 17-18, it didn't account for the fact that there were districts across the state who were actually in a hold harmless year in 17-18. So their total computational revenue was based on 16-17, and in some cases their enrollments were going down. So the state, in calculating 17-18 for 18-19, was assuming a bunch of fees that would be collected that never got collected because the enrollment wasn't there. So it was so that was part of the reason why there was a gap in terms of funding, and why districts like ours that did meet the student success metrics and then some are the ones who paid the price for it. I think the bigger issue, especially with the 7-year hold harmless, which I think a lot of CEOs are in favor of for a variety of reasons, I think one of the bigger issues on that is it would be great to have 7 years, but we also need to have a step-down approach, because the cliff could happen after 3 years, after 4 years, or after 7 years. And I think that's another component that needs to be resolved.
So thank you very much for that. So that does kind of tie into another question I had. So as we look at the change in our own demographics of the declining enrollment of traditional age students, I hope, I would like to recommend that we have a conversation about the college's strategy for how we will maintain, and sustain ourselves and our enrollment strategy as we have this declining population, and then also how that would affect the hold harmless. And I also want to say, there's a lot of discussion at the state level on the metrics and the funding formula. So while I know it does create a lot of angst that is kind of a moving target, I kind of think it's a good thing, because I remember when they first came out with those stats and everyone was really, really had heartburn when we were told that there would be no changes, no matter what you said the impact was. And now we are looking at the impacts. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to really give some input to really make those changes. And as you know, Dr. Angianis, those task forces are moving forward. So, and as I've worked on the metrics, so I became aware, I didn't realize that there was such a difference between, there were gaps between what the student success, the vision for success goals are versus what the funding formula goals are. And so when we talked about the transfers and which colleges transfers were going to be accepted, we find, there was a difference. So I think it would be helpful for the board to know what you see then are the differences, and then as we advocate at the state level, what we can do to really help move that along in, that would help so that our students are not impacted.
Well, and I think part of that too is that with the changing demographics and with, especially when you look at the age of our students, as that average age goes up, because our traditional age student population goes down, one of the things we're going to need to do is really look at the impact and the role of part-time students, because so much of the structure at the state level on down to all of the community colleges assumes the benefits of being full-time, and there's no question that being full-time is great. The problem is that's not a reality for a lot of students. And so how we build that into a funding formula, how we build that into the way we structure our success definitions, I'm not sure. I think we need to look at that. But that's, if you ask me, that's going to become the one place we really need to focus on. Because right now, if it's not 12 units, which by the way is not really full-time because you can't finish your program in 2 years on primary terms based on 12 units. So that's a minimum 12 units versus what you would really need to finish in 2 years, which is 15 units. So we don't even have that piece correct. And an FTES is calculated based on 15 instead of 12. So we actually need more than one human being in our state definition to make up the other piece. So
I am one of those trustees in the minority who have also said that same thing, that I think that we are moving away from that full-time student and marking that as the success, using that as a success metric. And that we need to acknowledge the reality that we have a changing demographic. We have more students who are returning, but they have families and they are working and they cannot do a full-time. So that also ties into my other question, and that is regarding the promises. So now that we have 2-year California promises, both kind of pinned on these full-time students.
yes.
But we also have our foundation that is funding a promise. And so I would like to request a couple of things. One, that we look at what the data of success, what those success metrics look like for the students who are going to promise, what the persistence looks like now that they're receiving those funds, and then have maybe report out on what we're doing with the PCC promise, and then how that is changing and impacting our students toward success, because I believe we have more flexibility with our own PCC promise. And I think that recognizing that there is a demographic of students that are not going to benefit from the California promise, how we might help them achieve their success.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Chen Lau.
Trustee Hilsman and I are liaisons to the PCC Foundation, and there has been discussion within the foundation to support students in terms of books, perhaps certain other living needs other than tuition because of the changes with the California promise. So the foundation is very much aware of our student body and the type of student needs that may be different than 20 years ago. So I hope that we will continue to have that conversation with the foundation.
Any other comments? Trustee Martin.
I just want to highlight one or two things that I think it's important for trustees to know. So if I could take you back to that ever small, miserable slide 13, it's on here anyway, of all the funds. Hey, boy, you got right on it. So we do have a balanced budget, and you saw a comment about cutting transfers. But if you take your eyes off the general fund and you look down into the shaded total of all funds, you see the net activity of all funds is some negative $11 million. Now, included in these funds, there is some Measure P money of $2.3 million up there. That's obviously one time that's been set up, and we're depleting that down. I'm sure there's some other one-time monies embedded in different things here too, but we need to realize that when we get the big picture, that we're trying to do a lot of moves here to preserve the quality of education. And so we're reducing transfers to some other really important funds. And once you've reduced it 1 year, it's not there to reduce again next year. And so this is a bit of an alarming trend to see this is happening, and we understand why it's happening. But I think somehow in the total presentation, I didn't want us to miss a little bit of the bigger picture. And the other thing, just for clarity, because I know it took me several years to get all this straight, and even the last budget meeting. So on here, you'll see a Fund 64 OPEB, self-insurance fund, and then you see further down, irrevocable trust OPEB. So we set up this irrevocable trust and put numerous millions in there so that it could grow at a faster rate than the Treasury, so we hope. We do have our own internal fund, 64, that's not part of that trust, and you can see that though the trust is, we're not taking money out of the trust for OPEB, we're really not putting money into the trust to support future OPEB, and you can see that OPEB is being reduced. And as a reminder to my fellow trustees, the OPEB is employees that have worked a certain tenure here, 14 years or something, I think it is, and retire at a certain age. We fund their insurance until they're Medicare eligible, and then after that, we fund like $1,440 a year so they can use that money to get the Medicare supplement, be on a better Medicare plan. That's OPEB, and then it's the same thing going on for Fund 69 PERS and STIRS and our irrevocable trust pension, where we're trying to preserve money to meet the ever-increasing STIRS PERS obligation, though we're grateful it got reduced a little bit. It was the old threaten two arms and only take one. So those are what those funds are. And again, the trust we're not really supposed to touch. The internal fund is where we would start. We show revenues for the irrevocable trust, and the budget for these are very comparable, I would guess, from what we saw reported to us that we've made so far this last year. But remember that we put them in these trusts so that they could make more money, and the way they make more money is that a larger portion of those are invested in the stock market or stock market related kinds of activities. And so though we show this 600,000 and 250,000, that's a little bit speculative based on what the market may or may not do, as opposed to what we're so used to here, that guaranteed, small piddly % that LA County funding would give us. So there is some big picture blinking red lights here in front of us, and you just kind of have to see it on the fund page more than looking into the general fund, which is where we spend 90% of our time and talk about fun and making sure we have classes and teachers and things.
What is the pay ratio percentage for these funds?
I don't understand.
Are you referring to the earnings that these? So, John, you might speak to the irrevocable trust that we set up for OPEB and pension.
We've had them there for about 11 months. And so we're just looking at the last 11 months. We made a return of 6.63%. as opposed to the county treasury, which would hug 1 or something like that.
I think it was
If
less
we're lucky
than
on a
2.
good day. What?
1 to 2.
1 to 2. So last year worked out really well for us. We hope next year works out well for us too. The idea here is if you don't need them for X number of years, in the long run, we benefit. You don't want to put this in short term because it could be the wrong year to short term. So that was the intention.
You know, that was what I was curious about, John, as a financial layman. So we're not using irrevocable trust OPEB for any current needs in the next 5 years, you're saying, essentially?
Well, not going to say the next 5 years, but in the tentative budget for 1 year, we're
Right.
not.
Okay.
Though obviously the internal OPEB self-insurance fund is going down by $2 million.
So if we lose 20% in a stock market decline, that obviously impacts us pretty seriously in terms of the operation of the college.
It would impact us, but you know, the trust money is not 100% stocks. So, and for that matter, my recollection is of the 4 plans that you could pick from rather conservative to rather aggressive, we are pretty close to almost really rather conservative, which usually is a little more of a fixed income, which traditionally does good when stocks do bad, but not always. So,
But
yeah.
Trustee Martin, let me follow up on Trustee Hilsman's question, though. So we're not yet taking money out of the irrevocable trust for OPEB. We're assuming it'll earn $600,000, but Hoyt, just to be clear, we're taking $2 million out of fund number 64, which is the old OPEB self-insurance fund. So then my follow-up question is, should we expect every year about a $2 million withdrawal, or was there some reason that the withdrawal from the old OPEB self-insurance was a little higher this year?
I don't believe you should expect that. The fund was carrying a fund balance, and based off of expenditure trends, the decision was made to use some of that ending balance rather than just leaving it there.
Okay, so would we expect to, a roughly $2 million withdrawal from the new irrevocable trust for the OPEB on an ongoing basis? Or?
No.
Okay.
You would expect more money going into the OPEB fund to pay the ongoing OPEB benefits. This is a one-time spending it down.
Okay, thank you.
good question.
I had a couple of, Trustee Brown.
Oh, I just wanted to comment that I think when we opened the irrevocable trust, it was done with the whole premise that we fully understood that we would never compromise the district by investing in stocks because it wouldn't make sense. So the whole idea is that we have a good portfolio to ensure that we will always make more money than we do sitting it into the county fund. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the whole premise why we started that.
Always is a really strong
Trustee
word.
Any comments?
Well, I didn't anticipate always. I think, it's a conservative portfolio designed to help us do better in the long run, for sure. And the trick is to not need the cash too soon so that the long run can occur. And that's where the challenge is going to come.
So
Trustee Brown, are you done? Okay.
I just had
Trustee Hills,
one more question, which may be widely off topic, but if the college were to pursue a bond in 2020, for example, of X million dollars, would that go into a similar building fund as it's identified in 42, or is there another way to disperse or to identify those funds? Where can that money go is my real question.
It needs to go into a building fund. It probably would go into Fund 42. We could put a sub-fund to separate the two bonds. But but we anticipate fully expending the Measure P monies. But it needs to be in a building fund.
That's a legal requirement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And just from my Measure P experience, there's very strict laws on arbitraging the money.
Yes.
So
Yes.
not only does it have to go into its own fund, but we can't generate a situation where we get too much money for the projects that we're doing too soon. And if we do, we have to pay a penalty on it.
Right.
So they don't want us letting the bonds out, grabbing the money, making a lot of interest on it, and then slowly doing the projects.
Correct.
There's a ratio there they
Correct.
try to keep.
And
But-
bond counsel will advise the
Hold on one
district.
second, please. Dr. Bush, go ahead. You have the floor.
Bond counsel would advise the district on how quickly to sell the bonds and how, as opposed to how quickly you can spend them.
Correct.
Thank you. Trustee Chen Lao.
To clarify, so in preparation for the bond, if we were to go for a bond campaign, then that money would come from 41, right?
No.
It usually does not come from the district.
It can't
Okay.
come.
It
can't
would be a
come from the
nonprofit
district.
or a foundation that would be supporting the campaign.
Our foundation has expressed the desire to support that campaign if and when we get to that stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple of quick questions. Dr. Bush, you mentioned early on in slide 2 that property taxes declined. I know we don't control anything that goes on at the state level, but, and they do all these things and throw these things out, and then they say, and the community colleges get X amount of the money and so forth. But it strikes me as odd that our property taxes statewide would be going down if we're in an economy that is at least stable, if not rising, because due to Prop 13, everybody's property taxes go up a minimum of 2% per year, and then when you have transactions of a property that hasn't traded for many years, the valuation of that property goes up a lot. And when you put all that together, unless we're in an economic decline, I don't understand how we could have a property tax decline statewide.
It is not a year-over-year property tax decline. It is what the Department of Finance forecasted in January as opposed to in May.
It's the difference between forecast and actual.
Forecast.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
Okay.
actually, it's forecast and forecast.
Yeah.
Actual won't happen until next
We
April.
still don't know the actual. Understood. That makes more sense. And then the pension relief, you mentioned that the pension fund relief is actually above and beyond Prop 98, that they funded
Yes.
us our full Prop 98, and they also gave us some funds towards PERS and STIRS.
Yes.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, and then lastly,
To follow up on that?
yes, Trustee Martin.
Thank you. The additional money for PERS and STIRS, is it coming to the district and then we get to contribute it back up, or is it going straight from the state into the funds?
They're paying down the liability at the state level, so the funds need to charge less. And it's important to note, STIRS is controlled by the legislature, and PERS is controlled by the PERS board. So we kind of have a calculation of what it will be, but PERS board has not taken action yet to reset the rates.
Thank you, because I know at one time, a year ago or so, they were discussing giving local districts more money that they could then in turn resend back up to
Correct.
fund CalPERS, but it didn't make sense to me to circle the money through the district and confuse everybody like, oh, look at all this money we just got,
Right.
when it just should go directly without passing go, without, collecting $200.
I believe they were doing that to put it under Prop 98 and distribute it and then
Okay.
charge it back. So it was a way to balance the state budget.
Thank you.
Okay. And then just my final question, and we've touched on it. We are not in hold harmless. We are a success formula college, at least so
Yes.
far. But what we learned was in order to meet the hold harmless requirements, essentially the success formula colleges lost their success bonus, if you will. And so my only comment then is the longer that we have hold harmless guaranteed, the longer potentially the success colleges may not get their success formula money. That's just observation and speculation for us to consider. And the amount of money that we lost in success formula that we believe that we've lost, nothing's final yet, equals or exceeds the reduction in the transfers to the other funds, which is about $2,900,000. I'm just going to round that to $3 million. Or said differently, had we received our success formula, perhaps there would be another $3 million or more that we could be making additional transfers. And that was really a question, not a statement. Is that a fair representation? That our budget was reduced by the success formula we didn't receive, and therefore we could not transfer as much money out of our general fund to fund these other reserves like PERS and STIRS reserves.
That is a fair statement, but there are many moving parts. Our salaries and benefits went up because STIRS and PERS still went up, even though not as much, and step and column. So we have $3 million plus in salary and benefit obligations. It's sort of a moving target, and then the concept of leaving that fund balance in the OPEB self-service fund, is that the best place to have it? So there's a number of discussions that could take place, but certainly having $3 to $6 million more is a good thing. It creates more options for the district.
Thank you. Any further questions on the budget presentation? Trustee Wah.
I just want to make a general comment on the facility. So I really want to thank Dr. Androgenis, who worked with all of our elected officials as well as our past elected officials. I mean, just to have been here 4 months and to have hit the ground running as soon as she knew that this was an issue, brought out the big guns to the Capitol and really stomped and made this happen. So I just really commend you for it. And as one of the CEOs from another college said, she was just gangsta.
I like that.
I think you probably know who made that.
I do know who made that comment. That's funny.
The other comment I just generally want to make as we look at other strategies is I know for the league, there was a strategy to really advocate that the budget not take money from Prop 98 for facilities deferred maintenance. But unfortunately, fortunately, deferred maintenance was allocated. Unfortunately, it came from the Prop 98 money, which reduces the money to education issues for our education programs for our students. So, you know, as we look forward on our strategies and our advocacy strategies for legislation, I'd just like to keep that in mind for future advocacies.
Do you need a motion on this?
Yes, we need a motion to approve the tentative budget.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, awesome.
Thank you for that presentation, Dr.
Yes,
Bush.
nice job.
Thank you.
That's right, I'm OG.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 2, which is to adopt resolution number 606, which is the authorization for temporary interfund cash borrowing. And I know there were some trustee questions on this item. Any explanation necessary or just a vote?
No,
Move approval.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're moving on to item number 3. This is the approval of additions, deletions, and modifications to the credit and the non-credit curriculum. Do we have any
Approval.
discussion?
Move approval.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4, this is the 2019 to 2022 Student Equity Plan.
I'm going to introduce Dr. Cynthia Olivo to get us started.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce our Director of Student Equity, who has worked tirelessly in a short time frame, given the corrected data sets that we received from the Chancellor's Office over the past 2 months. Dr. Maris Tamayo has worked with the Student Success Committee as well as presented to the various shared governance groups on campus to ensure that everyone understands the data and the plan going forward. So Dr. Maris Tamayo, would you please present our plan?
Thank you, Dr. Olivo. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to stand before you and be accompanied in the audience by my colleague, Dan Nguyen from the Office of Institutional Effectiveness to present the 2019-2022 Student Equity Plan for Pasadena City College. While next week marks the completion of my second full year at our college, I always like to share at presentations such as these that my history with PCC is much longer than that. My father, Melquiades Mares Jr., was a veteran who attended PCC as the first in his family to pursue higher education and is a proud alumnus of the class of 1961. My mother, Lorraine Lopez Mares, attended PHS and then came to PCC, also as a first-generation college student, and graduated from here in 1973. Both of my parents transferred, became educators, and raised me and my little brother, who, by the way, is an alumnus of PCC class of 2003, to see college not as a question, but as an expectation. As such, I'm privileged to stand before you as Dr. Micaela Maris Tamayo, precisely because of the generational impact that PCC has had on my family. In that same spirit, I'm here tonight to share what is the collective work of our students, faculty, managers, and staff who make up our college community and have articulated the goals, strategies, and activities that constitute our student equity plan. In terms of an overview for this evening, I'll be sharing with you a background on the equity plan and how it's situated within larger college and state initiatives. We'll go over a bird's eye view of the data that has been provided to us by the Chancellor's Office in various iterations, but through the very, very hard work of the Office of Institutional Effectiveness is presented tonight in a way that's very understandable and has been easy for us to use. And then we'll go over the actual 2019-2022 equity plan goals and next steps that we have, and absolutely welcome any discussion after that. So to start out with, in terms of background, every California community college must have an equity plan that covers from 2019 to 2022, shares our current data on students' experiences, and outlines how we are going to address and work to close equity gaps or where students experience disproportionate impact. And the due date for this plan is that it's to be uploaded and received by the Chancellor's Office by June 30th of this month. And as we know, the Vision for Success outlines our California community colleges' system-wide goals, which include eliminating equity gaps within 10 years of when the document was released, or by 2027. At the May board meeting, you as our board approved the local goals that were set by the college community, which essentially asked us to identify goals that were ambitious but achievable to reach by 2022, or the halfway point of the Vision for Success timeline. This evening, we are asking you to approve the equity plan, which aligns with the Vision for Success and local goals, and specifically articulates how our college will intentionally focus our continued efforts on those students who are experiencing substantive disproportionate impact, or equity gaps. The state provides us with data for particular student groups that have been determined via state legislation and are outlined in the California Education Code. The student group definitions that we analyze reflect our students' identities as Lancers that include race and ethnicity, their identities as current or former foster youth, LGBT students, economically disadvantaged students or low-income students, students with disabilities, and veterans. And all of the above groups are further disaggregated into the current Chancellor's Office gender categories of female, male, and all. And it should be noted that all includes those students who have selected to mark not reported or unknown, either because they do not identify within the current gender binary that's provided by the Chancellor's Office, or they've just decided not to report. So moving on to the metrics, there are 5 student success metrics that we've been asked to consider in this new equity plan. The first of those is enrollment, which refers to the number of students who enrolled in the same community college that they indicated on their CCC Apply application from the previous or selected academic year. So those students who indicated through CCC Apply that they wanted to come to PCC, how many of them actually came and enrolled here in the fall. The next metric is retention, which is really retention from fall to spring. So that's essentially the students who were with us in the fall taking class, how many of them came back in the spring, and it excludes those who may have graduated or transferred. After that, the metric that we look at is completion of transfer level math and English in a student's first year in the district with us. And again, that's the number of students who complete both transfer level math and English in their first academic year of credit enrollment in our Pasadena area community college district. The fourth metric is, the shortened definition is completion, and that essentially is the students who earned one or more of the following, which is a certificate or associate's degree. And that is an unduplicated head count. So it's not the number of certificates or degrees, it's students who achieve those. And then finally, transfer, which is the number of students who transfer to a post-secondary institution, public or private, in-state or out-of-state. All of that's included in the transfer metric. So when we think about those metrics, they essentially reflect the student life cycle, which is this diagram that you see on the screen now. So a PCC student starts their journey with us through enrollment. After that, we want them to come back and take class with us in the spring. And then, one would think that we would have them complete transfer level math and English within their first year here. That would be a great goal. From there, it moves on to completion of a certificate or degree and potentially transfer. So while we know that no journey is completely linear, this is a helpful diagram for us to kind of think about in terms of how those metrics relate to each other and how they line up. And so we're also going to use this diagram to show a selected but representative sample of where our students experience equity gaps. And for the purposes of this presentation, we've chosen to share the racial and ethnic group data for the 2 largest racial ethnic groups impacted, as well as the additional identity markers that also include race and ethnicity within them. So the first racial ethnic group that we see the data shows experience equity gaps is our African American or Black community. And so when we think about and look at the data for Black or African American females, we see that they actually experience disproportionate impact or equity gaps across all 5 of the metrics. And that's indicated in the diagram by the fact that there's the kind of broken lines, and they're slightly off from what would be, a smoother trajectory, if you will. When we look at the data for Black or African American males, it currently shows that they experience equity gap in all 4 metrics, except all 4 of the 5 metrics except for transfer. So in enrollment, retention, transfer level math and English completion, and degree or certificate completion. And then when we look at the aggregate of Black or African American students as a whole, we see again equity gaps experienced across all 5 of the metrics. When we think about our Latina, Latino, Latinx students, Latina females, the data show experience disproportionate impact in the areas of enrollment and transfer level math and English completion. Latino males, our data show experience disproportionate impact in retention, transfer level math and English completion, and transfer. And then when we look at the data in aggregate for all Latina, Latino, Latinx students, we see equity gaps in the areas of transfer level math and English as well as transfer. There are other racial and ethnic groups that do experience equity gaps as well, but in the interests of time,
we're going to show now the additional identity categories, which again are inclusive of race and ethnicity. So there are Latinx students, there are Black students, there are Asian Pacific Islander students, there are white students who are also included in these categories as well. So when we think of students with disabilities, those who are identified as female, the data show experience equity gaps in transfer level math and English completion and transfer. The data is showing the same as true for male students with disabilities in terms of equity gaps in transfer level math and English and transfer. And then when we look at the aggregate, we see equity gaps in those same two categories. When we look at our data on foster youth, current or former foster youth, our female students experience equity gaps in the areas of enrollment and transfer level math and English completion. Our male current and former foster youth students experience equity gaps in retention and transfer level math and English completion. And then when we look at the aggregate of all foster youth, we see equity gaps in the areas of enrollment, retention, and transfer level math and English completion. For LGBT students, those who are female identified, we see experience equity gaps in all of the metrics except for enrollment. So we see equity gaps in retention, transfer level math and English, completions of certificates or degree and transfer. For LGBT male identified students, we see equity gaps across all 5 metrics. And when we look at the aggregate of all LGBT students, again, we see equity gaps across all 5 metrics of enrollment, retention, transfer level math and English completion, certificate and degree completion, and transfer. And then finally, when we look at our data on veterans, veteran males are experiencing equity gaps in retention and transfer level math and English completion in their first year here in the Pasadena Area Community College District. The data currently does not show equity gaps experienced by veteran females, but when we look at the aggregate of all veterans here at PCC, we do see equity gaps in the areas of retention and transfer level math and English completion. So when we take into account the structure of the equity plan as set by the Chancellor's Office, which is pretty strict, the Student Success Committee looked at each metric individually and took into account data from the Chancellor's Office that was provided to us, our local goals and vision for success kind of guidance, and how large the equity gaps are currently showing in our data, what resources and activities we currently have in place, and other information about student group size. And so we did not want to take a one-size-fits-all approach, but instead set an informed goal that was ambitious but achievable for each metric, which you will see in much greater detail in the plan as a whole. That having been said, there are 4 strategies that cut across all of the metrics, and so those include to continue institutional transformation and consistent opportunities for professional learning that are equity-minded and student-centered, to braid existing and emerging resources to further establish the impact of efforts that we have going on and are bringing forth at our college, to engage in inquiry and design to further strengthen existing resources and services and determine where additional innovations are needed, and finally to engage in inquiry to assess and evaluate the success of these coordinated support activities. And so these strategies continue our college's pursuit of achieving parity in educational outcomes with the purposeful understanding that historical and contemporary policies, practices, and discourses have created structural barriers for students of color in particular, that race and ethnicity intersect with other defining identity markers such as gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, citizenship status, class, and others that have varying degrees of privilege and marginalization associated with them in higher education and beyond. And finally, that even so, students of color, LGBTQ+ students, students with disabilities, current and former foster youth, and veterans bring within their lived experiences and aspirations various assets to our colleges. So with this approach, we're taking a very intentional and yet responsive kind of plan to our students' emerging needs and also the ability to build upon their strengths.
So that concludes this part of the presentation, and I certainly welcome any discussion and questions that the board may have.
Trustee Wah, you hit the buzzer first.
Yay. So I'm out of here at 9, sorry. So, Dr. Maris Tamayo, I just want to thank you for this presentation. I was really pleased to see this. And so there's a couple of points. I mean, this is one of the best equity presentations I've seen since I've been here on the board. It doesn't, it's not just formulaic. It really shows that there was a lot of thought given, that there was a multivariate approach in analyzing the success of our students. So I just want to go on record. It was a question that I submitted earlier, and I just want to talk about how the caucuses really fought hard to increase the number of ethnic groups that we could analyze this by. I know that we were a little time bound by what we could do in accepting the data that was coming from the system. Mm-hmm. But as we go on, I know that you'll look at how we might expand that so we can look at this, we can disaggregate the data and really start to identify those students that maybe have been not disaggregated and possibly have fallen through the cracks. So anyway, I just really want to thank you for this presentation. It was excellent.
No, thank you.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Did you want to go?
Go ahead.
Trustee Brown, you have the floor.
Well, thank you. So again, thank you. Your team did an excellent job. I am I should say I'm happy to see that we are addressing the equity issue for the different groups that have been identified. I am hoping that, and I know you guys were under pressure because this was like, right? So with all the work that was put into play, as I was reading that very huge piece of document, one thing came to my mind is that, okay, so we met the deadline, and now we're ready to do the work. It seems like we are going to need a lot of resources to get this done. With all what we need to do to help the students, I mean, this is like how many faculties and how many counselors, and where's all this money going to come from? Are they going to give us extra dough or what? Help me understand.
So I'm going to just pop in here before the two experts really say anything. I think the spirit of these equity plans, the spirit of the Student Equity and Achievement Plan and these initiatives is not necessarily, I mean, obviously you're right, we do need additional funds and that's what we have equity funds and C funds for. But I think what this really calls for, and one of the things that I think Pasadena City College has done so well so far, is it's really about institutionalizing this. It's not about who is it over and above that we're hiring, but ensuring that the people we're hiring already have this mindset, that we take a fundamental look at what is the process by which a student either wanders onto our campus or goes to our website or interacts with one of our outreach staff out there, and how do we address their questions, and how do we demonstrate that this is the place where they are, so where they need to be. So I think, yes, we always want to have sufficient funding, but it's also about the institutionalization, and I think that is something that this college is already doing. But now I'll let the two experts.
Well, let me just follow up on that, and I think you're absolutely right. However, this is a big task, and you're right. We have to retrain the mindsets. Yep. I know we're hiring faculties. We have a new 24/7
call
center,
Yes.
which I think is going to be good. I think that's going to be good.
Yeah.
However, I cannot see how this is going to happen in the next 5 years.
So
Help me understand.
there is an allocation that is connected to this report that we will receive from the Chancellor's office.
of a couple of $1 million. Additionally, Dr. Maris Tamayo, I have appointed her to lead the grant writing with a consultant for a new Hispanic Serving Institution Title V grant. So we are trying to gather more resources so that we can create this plan to close our equity gaps even further. Additionally, we're working with other partners across campus with our Guided Pathways grant, with Salvatrice Cuomo in workforce. This requires a college-wide effort, and we're getting to it and getting it done.
Yeah, I would agree. Resources are always welcome. So if any of the 9 people watching on YouTube feel so inspired, add to this work, please do. Mom, Dad, brother, you're okay. You already have. But I think, that point is absolutely well taken. And I think also just to echo my colleagues and mentors, Dr. Olivo and Dr. Andujanes, it really is about leveraging the resources that we already have, and looking at the fact that there's certain practices that we've already been able to change and we've seen have impacted the data for the good. So while you saw transfer level math and English as kind of like a consistent metric where there are gaps experienced by various student groups, if you look at the data, we can also see that there was a bump between those rates between 2016, 2017, and 2017, 2018. Part of that bump had to do with the fact that we officially adopted kind of like a multiple measures approach to how we place students into classes. That was a partnership between instruction and student services that didn't necessarily require a dollar amount. It was really about a group of faculty, staff, and administrators getting together and really hashing out, how do we do this? How can we make some changes that are going to benefit our students, even if they do cause a bit of discomfort or disruption to how we do things at the moment? And I think we saw a return on that change in the data itself. So it's both and, right? It's both resources and these continued efforts that we're doing with everybody at the college.
And Terry,
Thank you. Good job.
I would just want to add as well, because it really does take a village, as Patty mentioned earlier. But one of the things you did tonight when you approved all those faculty were 4 positions, 2 for the math center and 2 for the writing center. Those are a new type of faculty position at PCC. We haven't had that before, and so that also is about AB 705, but it's also about closing equity gaps and basically providing a different type of support for our students than we've done before. And so there are things happening across the campus that will help with this.
Okay, we have Trustee Chen Lao is next, and then after that will be Trustee Hilsman.
Would you educate me by sharing how many students are we talking about here that's experiencing this equity gap? How many African American students? How many Latinx students?
It really depends on the metric, right? And so in the full equity plan itself, you kind of get a better sense of that. In some cases, it might be, dozens of students. In other case, we're talking about hundreds and up of students. Hence why we didn't want to set just kind of a one-size-fits-all approach to the goals. When we started to write the activities, we were trying to be responsive to that as well. So it really depends on, again, on what metric we're looking at and what particular group of students.
And so my follow-up question is then, how do we benchmark the success? So if we're looking at, I understand that certainly it's not one size fits all, right? It's not, certainly maybe African American students are experiencing different type of struggle than Latino students and Asian students, et cetera. In terms of benchmarking and looking at success, what I want to know is in 3 years, I'm not even looking at year to year because I think that's a short amount of time. But let's say in 2022, right, if we start with X amount of African American students experiencing equity gap, then what does that 2022 number look like?
It looks like getting closer to completely closing the gap. And
Okay.
so it's situated within that larger context of Vision for Success, and 2022 as being the halfway mark to completely closing a gap. It also looks like, depending on the metric and the size of the group, thinking about what kind of progress we can reasonably make, but still be ambitious about it. And so I think that when we looked at this as the Student Success Committee, that was one of the most honest and challenging conversations that we had, was really to determine those numbers group by group, metric by metric. And so again, I really have to acknowledge the work of all those people, some of whom are in this room, many of whom are not, who really sat with the data and sat with, again, that brainstorm and list of resources that we have on campus, and was taking into account size of group, trends that we're seeing in terms of the growth or maybe kind of holding steady of a group, and really thinking about, okay, this is a number that we really feel we could achieve by 2022 for this group. And now we're moving to group B and group C and group, kind of going through in that way. So,
Well, may I play devil's advocate on this too?
Of course.
Let's say if we turn it the other way around, right? Let's say if by 2022 we want to, or even before 2022, that we want to completely close the gap for all these students. What would that look like? What would that take?
that would take the commitment of everyone at this college. And that would take pretty much everyone here understanding the role that each individual plays in impacting our students' success, and in also moving to transform some of our practices, and decide where there's additional innovations we have to create for particular groups of students. And so some of those goals actually, again, depending on student size, depending on the size of the gap too, some of those goals do include closing the gap by 3 years, because we see the momentum. We see where there are different resources that are going to be coming online, like an integrated welcome center, like our Foster Youth Success Center, like the actual kind of further institutionalization of our Veteran Resource Center, right? We're seeing different things being put into place that we do feel on some of those metrics, we can close the gap. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Trustee Hilsman.
Thank you. So I specialize in naive and stupid, some would say stupid questions. So
I'm going to be following with some.
good. I'm not alone on this board. So we talk about groups, but actually what we're really talking about is individual students who make up groups. So I'm a big fan of data and technology and algorithms and all that stuff. Is there any way that we can track the progress of individual students, regardless of their, ethnicity or whatever, to improve their progress? Are there legal impediments? Are there resource impediments? What's the prospect?
I can answer that. Trustee Hilsman, we currently do that. And what we do is we'll query out of our student information system students who are affiliated with the program and students who are unaffiliated with the program. And for example, I can have a list of students who are in any of the various programs that you all have supported and attended their graduation events, EOPS, CARE, CalWORKS, et cetera. And then I have a list of students who are in no program. And our goal is to engage the student in some program in order to help them in retention and completion of their goal. And so we do that at this time. It's one of the ways that we've been able to increase our completion numbers over the past 5 years, is direct nudging of the students to help guide them in what they need to do next in order to complete their goal.
Okay. What about individual faculty? What I'm trying to get is reporting of their progress in each class, for example. I mean,
Yes,
Jane Doe is not doing well in 3 of her classes. Looks like she's going to fail, whatever. And what kind of intervention could we make there?
Yes, in the past 3 years, Dean Armando Duran has led his counseling faculty in implementing what we call, it's an early alert system, PCC Connect. And it's a system that provides an opportunity for a two-way communication between instructional faculty and counseling faculty to support students.
Has that been successful? Do we see metrics on that? And also, do we have the resources there? Do we need more?
We currently have around 500 faculty members using PCC Connect, which is really great. And we're analyzing the data and the impact of faculty who use it versus those who do not. Additionally, I will say that our Institutional Effectiveness Office has created an equity data dashboard that is the envy of many colleges in the state because we provide to all faculty and the public data regarding our achievement gaps that you can drill down all the way to disciplines. So at PCC, we're really far ahead of many other colleges.
It's wonderful to hear that. That's great. One other little note is, I believe there was, Belinda, you may have had a resource question or something came up there. One of the things that is changing about the BCC Foundation and the strategy there is to fill some of these needs that are not necessarily state or college funded. And I've argued, and I know that the president of the foundation and the executive director have argued that we can use our resources more strategically to fill in resource gaps that you have in the college in terms of the equity plan or student homelessness issues, food issues, all kinds of things. That's what the foundation is there for, actually, and especially since the tuition is going to get picked up a lot by state and local funding. So they aren't there yet in terms of what their process and program is, but that's another resource that we can hope for.
We appreciate that. And, you know, the current grant that we were awarded to replicate the City University of New York ASAP program to provide transportation vouchers, we did list the foundation as a partner for a future resource to support that effort.
Trustee Martin.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking a lot like my fellow colleague Hoyt here is, and again, just to reiterate some things you've said, every group listed, math and English, what core course seemed to jump out. Maybe there was one that didn't, but it seemed like universal across the board, #1, math and English core courses. I would also just unscientifically sitting here thinking, looking at all the various groups that we're using, say that probably has to cover 40 to 50% of all the students on campus. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of students when you consider all those groups. So I'm sitting here and again, kind of rather naive, appreciating page, and I don't think you'll find it quick enough, but 6 of 26 in the report where you're talking about PCC Connect as the #1 strategy, identify and respond to multiple pervasive factors that impact student retention and communicate support for students. And I sit here thinking about our last conversation with how the state thinks in terms of full-time students, and yet more and more, we have these part-time students. They're here for one class and they're gone. And so let me just say what I'm thinking and let all of you that understand it better take what, and if any of it means any. But to me, the bottom line kernel at the end of the day, the little place where you get down to the least common denominator, the littlest grain of sand, is a teacher in math and English is sitting with 30 students in a class, the first exam goes out, and X number of kids or students miss the mark on that. That's our point of best intervention.
Yes.
Right there.
That's how PCC Connect works.
That's
And I'm
exactly-
assuming
yeah.
that's what PC
Yes.
Connect is
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
It's heartening to hear 500 teachers are using it, but 500 is a lot of teachers, but we have a lot more than 500 teachers. And to me, almost if we can capture that kernel on that first test, because these are students that don't walk around campus during the day and understand the culture and the labs and the 24/7s and all that. These are people that are working and rushing here and rushing out and never giving it a second thought. Our number one line of defense to help these people is that first little kernel of sand, that first test with that teacher on that student on that test, somehow saying, here's all these amazing resources. To me, I appreciate all the structure you've done and all that you're doing, but if we can get that.
And I think we are getting that. We're moving towards that. And I think that those students who are balancing all these life commitments, along with the first math test, right, along with the first English paper, we are, those are the students we're the most proud of and who are really starting to acclimate to the culture here of the college, and who we have a team of folks working on PCC Connect with, Dean Duran, there's Dr. Miriam Altunji, Ingrid Sotelo Arana, Lily Trent, there's this group of counselors and staff that are just dedicated to understanding how do we scale out that 500, because the 500 is a huge benchmark to kind of hit right now, but how do we grow from that? And how do we also do so in a very intentional way so that our faculty feel empowered through the use of PCC Connect and are understanding that this is part of their agency to support students, not just in that one class, but also as they are navigating through PCC. And I think we're going in a really good direction with that. So I agree with you.
The sense I'm getting is we have this tremendous fertile soil all around the campus. But the trick is for thousands and thousands of students that comes down to one teacher and 30 students and the 10 or whatever number that miss, how do we get the seed to that soil? How do we get them there when they don't know the soil exists, or they are unaware, or they're just racing through life's challenges? So getting our quality instructors in tune to the processes to help get the seed to the fertile soil that we've created seems to me to be the number one objective here that will blow these out of the water and help a lot of other people along the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Anyway.
you, Trustee Martin. Trustee Brown.
I just wanted to make one point, and I'm not sure if I made it before, but first of all, PCC has been on this track and this trajectory actually a little before than this mandate came to us.
Yes.
Because just been around for the last 8 years, it's really a major change. And we have been changing. I say we as though I am. I guess I am.
Yes.
But we have been changing the culture of this college for a while now.
Yes.
And I think what our president just mentioned and told me earlier, it's a transformation.
Yeah.
And no, we're not going to get all of how many faculties that we have overnight to do this, but I think 500 people that are engaged is not bad.
Yeah.
No, are we comfortable? No, we're not. But it's a good start. And with now this plan in place and with all the new hires, I think we're going to even get better. So I really want to commend you guys for the hard work that you're doing. And with our new president and with the new mentality, I think we're going to do good.
Yeah.
So I just want to reassure you that I notice people are talking about what we're doing here. And I hope by next year we're 1,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. I have just a couple of quick detailed questions. If you could go backwards in your slides a few. For example, you have the metrics for the African Americans, for the foster youth, and the veterans. And let's start with the African American males. And I'm not picking that group in particular, but it says for our Black or African American males, the dotted line indicates there's an equity gap. We're under for enrollment, retention, transfer level math and English, and completion. And then somehow on transfer, we're on track. And it just seems, it's good to know that our Black or African American males are on track at the transfer level, but I'm not sure how they magically jump up on the green at the right if we've had the gap all the way along. And really, it's the same question for the other categories I mentioned. If you go to the foster youth, let's see, it's the same thing. We're like foster youth all, our enrollment is, there's a gap, retention a gap, transfer level math and English a gap, and then fortunately we jump up and we get our completion and our transfer back up to par, no equity gap, but just curious how that happens.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I think one of the things to keep in mind too is that we're receiving data from the Chancellor's office that takes into account students at any and all points in the California Community College system. So it's not always that they're with us the entire time, or they might have been at another college and then come to us, and they might have identified in, you know, with one marker at a previous college, and then here they didn't mark that, but it's still carrying for them. So that, all that to say, the data is pretty messy or complicated. I'll say it's very complicated. It's complicated data that we've received really within the past 3 months or so. And so what you're bringing up is exactly the type of inquiry question that we've written into the plan, where it's like we need to stop and really look and try to understand more about where it is we're seeing that there are not equity gaps experienced versus where they are. And within groups, I think that's a very helpful way to look at this data, as you reminded us, that it's also about understanding like the communities of students that are within our community college, right? And so if we're seeing that the data is telling us that African American males are not experiencing a gap currently in transfer, but African American females are, then we need to really kind of take a moment and think about what are the different supports available and how do we augment them or kind of amplify them in different ways. But again, all of this to say is there's definitely more inquiry that has to be done. And since this is not entirely just local college data, but it's system-wide data that's been provided to our college, I think that makes the inquiry that much more needed, but also, you know, potentially exciting too.
Oh, so this data is specific to PCC, or is this system-wide?
It's
on the charts that you've showed us here tonight.
So this is the data that the Chancellor's office has provided specific to our PCC students.
It's from the Chancellor's office.
From the Chancellor's
but it's
office.
specific to our students.
To our students.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did they get our data? From us, right?
No.
Dan, would you be, this is Dan, our researcher for equity.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No, that's
Okay,
fine.
my apologies.
Hi, everyone. If I can help explain, so they do receive data from us, but the Chancellor's office has data that we don't have. So they look across the system at all of the community colleges to see where a student might have been a student at one point. So, for example, a student could have gone to Glendale and identified as veteran, but came here and did not identify as such on their application.
So this data gets complicated because our students, like many others, attend more than one community college.
Yes, and if I can speak to specifically what you pointed out, this is not cohort data, so we're not tracking one student through their entire life cycle. the image up at the top is really good to illustrate that these metrics are trying to capture students at different points, but we are looking at a snapshot. So, for example, in 2017, these were the number of students who transferred. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they were the same students who started off with an enrollment that same year, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And if I can add, just because it's fun to confuse everybody, the Vision for Success goals that you
already
approved
passed
last
that. You
year,
don't have
I know
to go
I'm
any
done
further.
now. I'm done, trustee. The Vision for Success goals that you approved last month were based on a different set of data.
Right.
Just saying.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks
All
a
right.
lot,
Any
Erica.
further questions? You know, we've had a lot of discussion on this item, but this is really important. So thank you for your presentation.
Now we need a motion.
Yes. Do we have a motion? Oh,
I would like just to say that I really appreciate the analysis that went into this, and I can see that there's a lot of thought that gone into this, and I certainly want us to continue to think about the urgency of closing the gap. I think it's great that PCC has had success on this trajectory. At the same time, I also feel like we don't have another 8 years to, have a student be experiencing these equity gaps. So I commend you and the team and the president in having this be a priority, for the college and certainly for the board. I am very cognizant of the urgency in ensuring that our students are graduating, transferring, and especially the students of color who are Latino and African American and other disenfranchised students.
was there a motion in there too?
Yes, I motion that we approve
Thank
the
you.
equity.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we've made it through the action items, and we are now on to information items, and we're going to start with our superintendent president's report.
Okay, so I think it's fair to say commencement on Friday was a huge hit. We had a capacity crowd of 5,400 at Robinson Stadium with about 400 to 500 folks in our overflow area, which was in Sexton Auditorium. So we had a huge demand. Nearly 1,200 graduates accepted their diplomas that night, or a certificate promising their diplomas. And our final tally indicates that 3,265 students earned 6,206 degrees and 381 certificates in the 2018-19 academic year. And we should be very proud of those numbers, especially in the student-centered funding formula context. As you know from all of our conversation, we were able to get the Serafian building onto the list of funded projects at 80%. And as I've already mentioned, we're looking at instituting a facilities committee of the board to start talking about what does facilities mean and to help us with our facilities master plan, our educational master plan. A big thank you to all of those who helped to advocate and make this possible, including Senator Portantino, Assemblyman Holden. We even had letters from Representative Adam Schiff and Representative Judy Chu. I know our trustees were out there helping us. We had CCLC in our corner, as well as the Chancellor's office, and our lobbyist, Dr. Dale Shimazaki, and last but not least, as you already said, Jack Scott, and as Bobby Abrams like to say, it is Jack Scott jackpot, because he was awesome. Okay, and we've already had our budget highlights so ably by Dr. Bush, so I won't go there. We have had a very busy week when it comes to a delegation from Dr. Plateau, Senegal. And we've been very involved in that. Actually, Trustee Berlinda Brown, as well as Dr. Bob Bell, were involved in the planning, and this is the city of Pasadena's first sister city in the continent of Africa. And I was fortunate to be invited, and I attended the luncheon that was at Fleming's on Saturday. Very nice, very tasty, just saying. And then the delegation actually came to our executive committee meeting on Monday morning. We took a little break in the action. We had an opportunity to take a picture and chat a little bit. And then there was an event yesterday afternoon that Trustee Berlinda Brown and I attended. We thought we were going to get to give this big, certificate and a big presentation. That didn't work out that way, but it was great, and we did get our picture taken with the mayor. So moving on, Pasadena's second selection for the 2019 One City, One Story Common Book Project has a tie to Pasadena City College. The Ballad of Huck and Miguel, a modern retelling of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, written by LA author Tom De La Roche, features illustrations by a PCC student, Daniel Gonzalez, a student in the screen printing program currently working on a certificate in graphic communications. And he produced the black and white illustrations for the novel. Our summer session started today, and our enrollments are up over last year. Our head count is up by at least 500, and our enrollment is up by 700, so we're off to a really great start. And I just want to say that while we were sitting here, Dr. Juni did forward me some information about ADTs. Would you like to share that? Because it's very exciting.
Okay, so yes, so tonight you actually approved another ADT in Global Studies. And we have had recently two of the ADTs that you approved, one in social justice and one in, and now it's going to, I flipped my notes away. Well, biology was approved here. It has not yet been approved at the state office. Anyway, once all of those are approved at the state office, we will have a total of 31 ADTs. It's possible to have 40 right now in the state, and that will put us second in the state in regard to the number of ADTs available. The College of the Sequoias has 32. But as I also pointed out to Dr. Endrjonas, that of the 9 that are still possible, I believe 8 of those we can have. And after I sent the text to her, I sent an email to my deans listing those, asking them to start working with faculty in their divisions to get those additional 8. The only one we probably can't have is agriculture or animal science.
Well, I don't know. Hope Springs Eternal. We got those big lawns out there in front of the college. No, just kidding.
That's for hops.
That's right. That's where Terry wants his hops plants for beer making.
Cannabis, I say. I argue cannabis.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So, the significance of that, I think it's important, is that we are a statewide leader when it comes to ADTs, and this is why, because we have so many possibilities for our students.
From the standpoint of the Vision for Success goals,
yes.
We have been leading the state in the awarding of ADTs. We don't always come out number 1. We're sometimes tied for second. But the colleges that have beat us have had more ADTs than us. That's no longer true. We've passed both of those colleges. So,
yeah.
So
You're not naming names?
No.
Why would we do that? We know. That's all that matters. So that actually concludes my report.
Thank you. Shared governance, we would normally start with our student trustee, but she left for a class. I notice our student trustee-elect has made it all the way through the entire meeting. So new trustee Sarkisian, we'll see you in July meeting and look forward to hearing your report. And then we'll start with classified Senate, Ms. Felicia Mitchell.
Good evening. About 2 weeks ago, the Senate had a ice cream social, and that went well. Last week, 6 classified attended CLI at Grand LeBac in Tahoe, and 4 of those 6 were brand new, and they really enjoyed it, and they look forward to next year's, which will be in Riverside. And also, this is the last year that they're going to have it in Grand Labakan because we have outgrown Grand Labakan.
That's a good problem to have. That's awesome.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Management Association, Mr. Altamirano.
Yes, so I have a long one tonight, sorry. Just start with that. But I do want to give a few shout outs, specifically as Dr. Jonas stated, to Dean Rebecca Cobb for her amazing leadership in coordinating all things commencement. Her and her team did an amazing job in selecting those great student speakers. So a big thank you to her and her team. And also a thank you to Tamika Alexander for her leadership in organizing our other 2 big graduations, our Black grad and Latinx grad, who both were extremely successful. Secondly, again, as you just heard, a big thank you to Dr. Micaela Maris Tamayo for her work on the student equity plan that has truly involved the campus community. Myself serving on the Student Success Committee, it's done a great work with that. And I know that plan will serve as a guide for future activities in closing the equity gaps for our most needed students. And this work is actually already happening with the work of Dean Carey Starbird and Dr. Isela Osegueda, who have worked hard to ensure that the right courses are offered to support our students and help them get started right. And speaking of getting started right, these past 3 days, the Pathways FYA program under the direction of Dr. Brock Klein, with the Assistant of Counseling with Dean Armando Duran, they have helped nearly 700 first-year students demystify and navigate the specifics of registering for classes in a way that made students feel excited and supported while entering PCC. So thank you to them and their teams for their leadership and collaboration. Next, I'd like to welcome to the college Arlene Reed, whom the board approved tonight as the new Director of Admissions and Records. And on the same note, give a big thank you to Denise Carter, who stepped up and served as the interim director for the past year. I'd like to give a final thank you to Dean Joe Futner, who served his last semester as the Dean of Visual Arts and Media Studies, and wish him luck as he transitions back to the classroom, as well as recognize Dean Barbara Freund, who also decided to retire, though fortunately for us, we still have her till December. And in closing, I just want to give a big thank you to all the managers who represent the Management Association for a year of great service, and I really look forward to seeing them all at our next annual retreat on July 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Academic Senate, Ms. Lenora Rogax.
I'd like to echo Tito's sentiments, thanking Mika Barres Tamayo and Sheila Rose and the entire Student Success Committee for their work on the equity plan. It was a lot of data to dive through, and they did an amazing job, as they usually do, with all the initiatives that they help to implement and bring to light on campus. I'd also like to congratulate the new faculty that were approved for hire in this session today. In particular, I'd like to point out Richard Allen, who is our newly hired cosmetology full-time faculty member. I'm pointing him out specifically not only because this is an attempt to revitalize a cosmetology program, which is very much needed in the area, but also because Mr. Allen has served as a senator, an adjunct senator at large for the last year, and so he's been very involved in the campus community, even as an adjunct, and so I'm just delighted that he'll be joining us full-time. I'd like to also recognize the retiring faculty that were approved at tonight's meeting. Dr. Rich Beyer will be joining his wife in retirement, and so I'm sure that they are both looking forward to that. She retired a few years back. Patty DeOrange Martin, who is obviously a huge loss in terms of a resource for this college. Her work has been exemplary. She'd be deeply missed, but I'm delighted to hear that she'll continue to serve veterans in her new capacity, even in her retirement. Dr. Keith Oberlander, he's a valued math faculty member. He's also really well respected in his participation in shared governance committees, in particular the Equivalency Committee. He's always been a wise, stable source of measured judgment in his equivalency decisions. And Chris Pallone out of Graphic Communications. She has served in the Senate for many years, and she'll be very much missed in the VAMS division. And Wayne Houlihan from Automotive Technology, who's been with us for 30 years. He is a great team player. He has mentored every single tenured faculty member in that program. It's a huge testament to the strength of the program, his strength as a faculty member, and his strength as a division leader. And so his guidance will be very much missed. We had the Senate Banquet Awards on June 6th.
June 6th.
It was so long ago. And at the banquet, we issued several awards that I'd like to briefly mention. The Risser Awards, first for outstanding teaching to Brian Gonzalez, and then to Marilyn Johnson for her outstanding support of our students and our teaching efforts on campus. The Ralph Story Award was awarded to Rob Lee, also from the English division, just like Brian Gonzalez. They are knocking it out of the park this year, for his exemplary service to faculty and students. And then the 10+1 Awards, which honors the special contribution that faculty make to shared governance processes. There were 4 winners of that award: Sharon Bober, Tammy Knott Silva, and Sharissa Mirian for their work on the Curriculum and Instruction Committee. It's been an amazing year in there. As I've said many times, that is the hardest working committee on this campus. They do an incredible job of making sure our programs and our courses are updated, and they run a really great committee. And then Krista Goguen for her work all over campus, but in particular, her efforts in accreditation. We also had the Academic Senate scholarships for our students. I'd like to thank the Scholarship Committee and Deborah Bronstein for her leadership, and Peter Castro for emceeing the event. And our students who were awarded: Romero Connors, Pei Lau, William Welch, Amanda Montes, Tamara West, Andrew Mendoza, and Evelyn Liu, who were the recipients of the Academic Senate scholarships. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Rogax. Trustee reports. We'll start on my left with Trustee Chen Lau.
It was my first commencement as a trustee, and was a real, I think, compelling time for me to be on the platform, and 2 moments stood out for me. The first one was when the faculty came out and lined up and applauded all the graduates that came through. I just thought that what a proud moment for the faculty to see their students, walk and get their degree. And the second moment was when one of the student speakers spoke about his experience as a former gang member and incarcerated person who was able to attend Oxford University and then will be transferring to UC Berkeley. So in the daily bustle of things, sometimes I think we forget student success is the ultimate goal, and the commencement ceremony really crystallized that for me, is that we're here to see students thrive and to see students excel. And I just want to say that I'm so honored and privileged to serve as your trustee, and thank you for the opportunity for me to do that. And I would like to add a couple more statistics to Dr. Androgenis' commencement statistics. 4.9 thousand views on YouTube, 69 likes, and 2 dislikes. So the 2 people that disliked the Pasadena graduation ceremony, we would like to know who you are.
And why.
And maybe shame you a little bit for doing that. But congratulations, it's been a terrific year, and thank you to each of you for what you do to serve this great college.
Thank you. And on my right, Trustee Martin.
Be the haters.
Just quickly, I want to say that 2 addresses, it's a fabulous graduation, but I in particular appreciated Dr. Androgenis' comments. U.S. Army, Flag Day, PCC graduation. I'm going to be able to remember that. It's just amazing. And I thought our president, Tony Fellows, did an exceptional job too. So I just wanted to thank both of them. There's so many other kudos, and rightfully, to all the other speakers, but I thought you 2 did a great job.
Thank you.
Trustee Hilsman.
I have nothing special to report, but just to add on the commencement that our president shook 500 student hands with great enthusiasm. I think it's a record. I don't know if anybody keeps these records. I said she should run for elective office, but I hope that God that she doesn't.
No.
I'm going to stall for time for Trustee Brown, and I'll give.
She doesn't have a report.
Oh,
she told me to tell you.
All right, very good.
No stalling.
So just to conclude, the hour is late and the accolades have been long. One of the most rewarding things to me as a trustee is at this time of year at graduation, and not only to attend the main event, but to attend what I call the breakout sessions. And that's where you really get a chance to learn more about the students and their success, and in some cases, the obstacles they overachieved to achieve that success. And it's just really rewarding to see the work of our faculty and the staff that support them to make that all happen, and it makes us all proud. I will leave it at that because everybody has already commented further. And again, I just echo the sentiments of others. Dr. Androgenis, the SWAT team that you put together to save the funding for the new Serafian building is just awesome.
Thank
And I salute you for mobilizing a lobbyist to assist and bringing in the A team and heading up there personally to lead and get involved in those efforts. So thank you very, very much. I have no further comments. I think we can skip. Well, do we have any proposed future agenda items?
I do.
Doc,
As previously indicated, I hope we can ask Dr. Juni and his crew, or whomever you want, our superintendent, to explain to the trustees how we decide what classes we are offering. At the end of the day, having full classes are to maximize that ratio so students can get in and get through PCC and onto their goals. The key to that is in what classes are offered and when they're offered and who's offering it, and all that science that you were, and art you were working through us at B&A. So I hope we can get that on agenda for the full board.
So noted.
Okay. Any other future agenda items? Trustee Brown, nothing to report? Okay. No further business, meeting adjourned.
I would like to adjourn in memory of Hoyt Hilsman's mother, who recently passed away, and he still came and did his trustee duties at commencement and also at the PCC Foundation meeting, and being here at today's meeting. So I would like us to adjourn in memory of Hoyt's mother.
I thank you so much, Sandra. And just to say a personal word about my mom, this was a woman of the World War II generation, and she married young to my dad, a war veteran. And didn't have she went to Barnard for a year and University of Chicago for a year, ran out of money, and didn't have a chance to complete her education until later on she attended the General Studies program at Columbia and graduated from college around the same time I did. So it was a great story of women of that generation, and I know she will rest in peace.
And so noted, and the meeting will be adjourned in her honors and in our condolences as well. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you.